Yo, welcome back, SJB from SJB Speaks. And today's morning musing is, I keep forgetting I'm just as fast as okay, so today's morning musing is called A Blessing Delayed. All right. And it says, the note that I wrote is, sometimes you hold up the blessing. So, excuse me, this came from me because I just thought about all the different times that I thought a blessing was being held up, but I was really the one in my own way holding up the blessing. And sometimes I wasn't even actively holding up the blessing. You ready for this? Sometimes I was holding up the blessing because I didn't have the right posture. I didn't have the right heart. I didn't have the right mind about people, places, and things, situations and circumstances. And so because of that, I wasn't sitting in energy that allowed my blessings to come in because I was vibrating too low. Whole time God is trying to use someone betraying me to bless me, I'm focused on the get back for the person that betrayed me. So I can't even see that them betraying me was actually a blessing. They were actually being removed before the blessing came in. And it took me a situation recently to actually see that. And I saw it in real time. And God didn't make me wait for the blessing. It was like, okay, I just showed you who they are. Now watch this. Boom. And now I look back and I'm like, wow, I thank God that I'm not entrenched with those individuals. I'm glad they're not in my orbit anymore. I'm not going to say I'm glad that we're not friends because we were never friends. Looking back at it now, I can see it was never a friendship. Not for the other persons. It was never a friendship. Ever. I don't even know if they really liked me. I think that they wanted to emulate me, but I don't know that they liked me very much. And then there were just so many little things that I overlooked that I man, it's funny how you can look back at something and just see it all. But there were little things that I overlooked where it was like, that was funny business right there. Right in your face. And you didn't even see it. That happens sometimes. But anyway, okay, back to the subject at hand. But but again, even in that situation, I was holding up a blessing by holding on to something that I was never meant to have. Not with those people at all. I was not meant to build anything with them. Nothing. I'm very clear on that now. And so, it really, for me, my focus has been more on having the right posture, and really focusing on my growth. That has helped me tremendously. And just staying focused, not getting distracted with any of the noise, any of the, I'm just not distracted by any of it. There's no time for that. But yeah, my point in all of this is, maybe it's not something that you're doing actively to block your blessing. Maybe you still hold a grudge against someone for what they did to you. Maybe you are still holding a grudge against yourself for what you did to somebody, or a version of yourself that you were in the past. When it makes me think of something. I had a recent business encounter that completely was just sideways. And so I thought about times where, when I was younger and I was in business, And I was cutthroat, and it was just business. It was just a transaction. Some of those still haunt me, like, to this day. And even though I've gone back and apologized to some of those people, there are some that I can't even bring myself to apologize to. So nothing that we do is without weight. You know, that's my point. Nothing that we do is without weight. And I can see where, because I had those feelings about myself, about past versions of myself, I can see where I held up certain blessings and delayed certain things for myself because I didn't think that I was worthy, because of who I had been. I'm reminded now of Dr. Maya Angelou's quote: "I did then what I knew how to do. Now that I know better, I do better." And when I first discovered that quote, that was the beginning of my healing journey, truly. It really, really was. Because there's so much forgiveness in that first line. I did then what I knew how to do. I was only doing what I knew how to do at that time. At 22, starting a business, having the last real successful entrepreneur in my family, in my opinion, I would say, was my grandmother's mother. Her name was Ida. And, they say she had a great business mind. And, she owned businesses and stuff before she passed. She was successful. But my point is this: I'm this 22-year-old kid, no experience. I'm coming up under, with the exception of one mentor that I've ever had, they were all sharks. All of them. Tom was a shark too, but in a different way. I have modeled my shark qualities after him, in terms of, Tom was like, you just knew he wasn't gonna screw you over. He wasn't gonna screw you over. If he gave you a price, it was a fair price. You knew the work was gonna be good. You knew you were gonna get the result that you wanted. He was just very upfront, very, if Tom were still alive today, I always wonder what he'd probably really get a kick out of this version of me. But I also think about the fact that he was always speaking to this version of me. Really to every version of me. But yeah. I miss Tom though. Tom was brutally honest with me all the time. And if I was bullshitting, I learned a lot from him in business. Yeah. He'd be like, "You're actually good. You're great. You don't have to bullshit people. All you got to do is do your work and show up." And he was right. So anyway, with the exception of one, they were all sharks. And so I learned to be fucking cutthroat. Then I love documentaries, so I was watching documentaries about all these moguls, all these different people, and the rest is really history. I was an asshole, but I paid for it. And yeah, so I say all that to say this, okay? I say all that to say that maybe it's not you standing in the way of your blessing. Maybe it's how you feel about something or someone, you know? So that's all I got for y'all. Till next time, keep being kind, be well, stay safe, and be blessed. Peace.